Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thanks for joining me again today. Today we have a repeat guest who's been with us before, John Allen, who's with the Alpharetta Department of Public Safety, the ACE unit, and he brought a friend today in Jason Munzer. So, guys, thanks for joining us again.
Yep, thanks for having us.
I enjoyed our show the last time when you were here, John, and today they really want to talk about Smart
911.
911, so that we are going to talk about all things public safety, especially whatever this program, Smart 911, is. So we're going to talk about that, too.
Yes, Jason's the expert on that.
Oh, so that's why you're here, Jason.
Yes.
Because you're smart.
Well, I agree with that.
Not that you're not, John. I'm sorry.
Nah, that's all right.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about who you are, John and Jason. And John, how you got involved with the Alpharetta Department of Public Safety, and then you as well, Jason. And then we'll get into all the programs in public safety.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm John. I've been with the department for 8 years now, and I was on patrol for 6 years, and now I'm in the community relations unit, which is great. I get to go and read books to kids. I get to go to businesses and give presentations on teaching them how to be safe. It's perfect for me. I grew up in the area, and I love keeping people safe and being a good face for the department and for law enforcement in general. So I'm really enjoying my job now. It also gives me a lot of time to be at home with the family. So it's a really good. I get the best of both worlds.
That
really.
Is great. Mm-hmm. There's so much we're going to have to talk about here today as I'm looking at your questionnaire. And then Jason.
So for me, I got a little longer story. I came from Oregon, Ohio, and I started off at a small agency called Put-in-Bay. And it's spelled out just as it sounds, Put-in-Bay. Yeah. So I started out working on a small island, and Atlanta Police Department came to Toledo, Ohio. I was giving a test, and I thought it was time to go full-time. I loved policing. So I took their test, and lo and behold, I started working for the city of Atlanta back in 2008. And, 2003. In 2008, I, however, transferred over to the city of Alpharetta. And during that time working with Alpharetta, I got to interact more with the community and volunteering a lot more time to spend with them. I think that helped with me getting up to the community relations. I absolutely enjoy talking to people, presenting presentations, making materials to help promote the public safety department, and just to put a better face that, we're not out to get you. We're actually just as human as you are.
Absolutely.
And we want to be able to express that, but you just get to see the other side of us through the community relations, and that's what I'm all about.
And I'm so happy to have you here today because you know what? It's a tough time right now to be in the police force.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
And thank you all for what you do on a day-to-day basis, keeping us safe. I think we've forgotten that a little bit. And we're not going to get into politics here, but you all risk your lives to keep us safe, and I certainly appreciate that. And, in every organization, in every group, in every family, in every church, there are people that are much more genuinely hearted at giving, and some people that have a little work to do in that genuine heart and giving spirit, even in a church, even in your own family. And so, but we can't stereotype a whole unit, a whole police force, a whole church. Right. And I said I wasn't going to get into politics, but I thank you all for what you do. I'm so glad you're here today. We're going to help people stay safer out in the communities, and keep on trucking for us. Thank
Absolutely.
You. So, public safety. I'm so worried these days because there's more and more and more things coming up every time I turn around that's either a scam or a fraud or identity theft or I just read this morning before I got in the car to come here that there's a new thing going around Atlanta. I know y'all are in Alpharetta, but where people are just coming up in cars and jumping out and burglarizing people on the streets who are walking their dogs. So we have a lot to talk about today. And, we air in Arizona, Gulf Coast, Louisiana, I don't care what city you're here from. Alpharetta is wonderful. But this is going to pertain to anybody, anywhere you live in this country. So let's talk about public safety. We do want to talk about the Smart 911, but what are the top 5, and there's probably a whole lot more than that, top 5 threats to public safety right now?
I would say one would be with scams, number one. Especially if we're talking about elders, scams are probably the number one. Everybody just wants to trust everybody. We're wired to trust
Isn't it
people.
sad we can't? It's
Right.
terrible. But you
So,
can't. Folks, you've
right.
got to be on alert.
Right. So just make sure you know who you're talking to, and don't trust everybody at face value. Look into people's story a little bit before you start giving money or giving information.
So what are some scams that are going around right now?
Well, we get a lot of the phone call from the IRS or the phone call from your local law enforcement agency. First of all, we will never call. No law enforcement agency will call and advise you to pay a sum of money over the phone. That's just not how we operate. You've got the opportunity to go to court. That's where you get to your chance. That is your chance to tell your side of the story. But for us to call you and say that you need to give us money, know that it's an absolute scam. We just do not operate that way.
Yeah, and before you give money over the phone, at least, hang up and do a little research first. Well, I'll call you back.
Right.
But the IRS, it's the same for the IRS. They will not call you and advise you to give a large sum of money right then and there either. A lot of times, the big key to knowing that it's a scam is that they're going to ask you to get a green dot card.
A green dot?
A green dot card.
That's a prepaid credit card. I
Oh,
don't know if you know.
okay.
So they'll tell you to go get a prepaid credit card and give them the number for it. IRS,
Prepaid credit cards. That's
Right.
okay.
So IRS is
Everybody.
never, right.
If someone's asking you for a prepaid credit card, hang up.
Right.
Correct. And, the IRS, what they'll do is they'll contact, and I've had them call me. And, I have fun with these guys because I know. I've been in this field for 14 years. But the normal citizen is not gonna know. Not all the time. Mm-hmm. But, the biggest kick that the IRS does is we're going to get a warrant for your arrest if you do not pay this amount. That's a scam. They're not going to threaten you with a warrant. There's proper channels that the IRS takes, and that's usually they're going to send a letter. But I also recommend that when you get that letter, you take that phone number that's on the letter and you place it in Google search.
Yeah.
That
match
Google
it up.
search is going to tell you if that number is involved in a scam. And I've gone to many homes to take reports and simply done just that and discovered that it's an actual scam. So,
Yeah, and if the IRS is calling you for money and you get a letter in the mail, go on the IRS website.
Exactly.
Get the phone number from the website and call them and say, what's this letter?
Exactly.
And they're going to tell you real quick
Yes.
that it's not them. Wow. But it is a pain, and it's an inconvenience, and it's a distraction. So sometimes I can understand how people can fall for that.
We get another scam. This is just one last on the scam, unless Officer Allen has something. But we're getting a rise in the elderly receiving a call from, they say it's their grandson or their grandchild. And somehow, I don't know how they do it, but they'll sound just like your grandchild. And they'll say that I'm locked in Mexico, and I need you to send $1,000 to get me out. And these people are sending the money, and they do the same thing. They get the green dot card or the paid credit cards, and they're sending those funds. A particular lady in Alpharetta, she sent 3 checks.
Oh, my gosh.
Of $1,000. That's $3,000 before she finally realized when her grandson called to check in, see how she was doing. She brought up, did you get out of Mexico okay? And he had absolutely no idea what she was talking about.
Wow.
That's a scam to be aware of as well. If they say that there's somebody, call that person to make sure. And if they don't pick up, tell that person who's on the line to call you back tomorrow. And then continue to try to call that person just to verify that it's not the person,
Right.
your grandson. That's it.
Wow. And this happened to my son. He's younger. He's not going to be in a jail in Mexico. But he called my ex-husband's father. Somebody called my ex-husband's father, who lives in Seattle. So he doesn't talk to my son very often. So he really wouldn't probably even recognize the voice,
Right.
birthday cards and what have you, pictures sent. And they said that he was in an accident. I think that he was in the hospital, and they were calling because they needed payment and something like that. Now, his grandfather knew enough to hang up the phone and call family members to see what was going on, but it really bothered my son, who was 13 at the time. Why would somebody do that?
Mm-hmm.
They tried to scam Grandpa, and it would have been my fault. It's terrible. Terrible
Right.
what people are doing. Now, I read also, I think this was yesterday, that the latest thing here in Atlanta, so I have to assume this is around the country as well, it's spring, is people pretending to be landscapers and knocking on doors and taking money for landscaping and not showing up. Are you hearing about that?
Luckily, we haven't had that up in
Okay.
Alpharetta, but it happens with other services too. Most places have no solicitation. Most neighborhoods, you can put it up on your door, no soliciting. In Alpharetta, we have a no soliciting list. So people have to come and get a permit to solicit in the city of Alpharetta.
Wow.
So when they do that, they get a list of houses they are not allowed to go to, a list of neighborhoods they're not allowed to go to, and they only have a certain number of days they can go out and do this. So check with your local law enforcement to see if you can get put on the list or what the regulations are in your area.
And it's such a shame because, honestly, somebody did knock on my door a couple years ago and said, I got all this pine straw. Now, it was right in front of my yard.
Right.
So he laid the pine straw. I paid him when he was done. And I'm all about small business and entrepreneurship. And you want to, like you said, you want to trust and you want to help people. But
Right.
don't pay till the services are rendered.
Exactly. You shouldn't pay for anything up front.
Yeah.
Wait till the service is done.
That
Okay.
happens in Canton as well. That's where I live, and we have a friend that had the same thing with the pine straw. Don't pay until you get the services rendered.
Now, I
Exactly.
love this
That's
guy,
it.
and I've used him year after year after year. And let's promote, entrepreneurship and small business, because not enough of that going on. But be careful.
Right.
Right.
Don't be so trusting. Okay. So any other scams that you want to make sure that we talk about?
I was going to talk about theft real quick, if that's okay. Just theft prevention. We've had a lot of car break-ins, and that's not just here, it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. People are leaving valuables in their car in plain sight.
And taking babies.
Yeah, it's happened recently.
Was it like two of them in this
yeah.
past month?
Right.
Yeah, down in Atlanta. So basically, don't leave anything of value out in your car, from a GPS to a phone charger cable. People are breaking into cars for anything now.
For a
Most
phone
definitely
charger
watch out.
cable.
Right. I mean,
Wow.
if it's out, someone could take it. So lock your car. Don't leave anything in plain view.
There was something was it on the news? I don't know if I saw it. It might have been a Facebook post. People are drilling. Have you heard about this one? Right under the key lock on the passenger side door, a little tiny hole the size of smaller than a bottle cap. I don't even know, maybe a dime. And they're just drilling in and drilling out. And then they can get into your car. They check your GPS, see where your home is. And then you don't even know your car has been broken into because you don't see the little hole on the passenger side door for days and days. Then they look for your car to see if it's in the home. And if they don't see your car, they know you're not home and they steal from your home. Had you heard about that?
I have not.
I just saw that 2 days ago.
Well, let me tell you, most of the time it's not even so much a drill. They're taking like an ice pick or a screwdriver, and they're puncturing a hole directly underneath the lock.
Maybe that's
which
what they're doing.
releases the locking mechanism. Correct. And you're right. People don't find this out for days later. I've taken many reports where they can't recall if it was last week or the week before.
God, that scares me.
Right. They're breaking into those cars and they're taking, just like what Officer Allen said, just a simple phone charger sitting makes them believe that the phone will be inside that vehicle as well. So hiding every valuable item, or even if it's not so valuable, if it pertains to something that is valuable, hiding that as well, just as simple as a phone charger.
Okay, but even a step further, because I'm thinking I'm changing my GPS. I don't want to label anything home on
Right.
my GPS. Label it Carolyn's house, whatever secret code you know. Then they don't know where your home is, right?
Most of the time when they commit these burglaries, they're not actually looking to commit a theft. They're not actually looking to commit a burglary at a home. However, I have heard of something like this. I just haven't seen anything like this here in Alpharetta.
It just scares me.
But I agree.
Yeah.
Don't place your home address. It is sad because that stuff's there to help you.
And even your cell phone. Mm-hmm. I have a code lock on it. You can only make an emergency call. So even if someone steals your phone, please put a code lock on there so no one can just get in and take a look and see, right? I mean, is that what you all say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
protect your information. People are out to get it, which is sad. But, here in 2015, people are out to get your information.
Yeah.
And get your things.
Okay, so I've completely taken over by everything I've read in the last few days. So what else do you all want to talk about? Okay, so that's it for car break-ins, right? And safety in terms of identity theft and not identity theft, scams and car break-ins. We still do need to talk about identity theft. But what is this Smart 911 program y'all are talking about?
Smart 911 is the newest thing that I know a lot of agencies are starting to turn towards.
So this could be a national program.
Exactly.
Okay.
We love it. It's as simple as logging into Smart 911. And you can, for the Alpharetta residents, they can go to the alpharetta.gov or alpharetta.us.gov, and they can actually find the Smart 911 app. As simple as clicking on it and filling out information. Now, some people are somewhat still wary about what they want to put inside that system. It is a very secured system. In fact, the only way to gain access into that system is when you call 911. So in instances where, do y'all remember the time where the child was underneath the bed and was texting to Facebook about a burglar suspect in their room? Well, what Smart 911 allows you to do is to actually text our 911 dispatch without ever being heard. So people now have the ability to text us that they need help. One of the other great features with Smart 911 is that when you register, you can actually put in your medical conditions. And we highly, highly recommend that anybody with a medical condition, that they put their information inside the Smart 911 system. And they're going to ask to put in their name, their address, their phone numbers, additional contacts. The reason for all this is when you call 911 and you cannot speak, let's say that you're an individual who has fallen to the ground and the only thing you're able to do is click the app. At that point, 911 is being dispatched, and we have everything about you. So we know that this person from this number, whoever is the owner of the number, has this medical condition, so we know to start EMS for what reason, and we also continue to hold a history on that as well. So we know their name, we know their phone number. In years past, we didn't have that. When you called 911 from your cell phone, we didn't have that. Now, if you called 911 from a landline, we had all your information. So this is the new way of being able to obtain that information for your cell phones. And about 70% of U.S. citizens only use their cell phones today. So that's a lot. That's saying that they don't even have a landline. So by putting all this information into Smart 911, what does that mean about Atlanta or Johns Creek if they don't have Smart 911? It doesn't. The thing about Smart 911 is once the agency decides to go with it, they then have access to that information only when that user calls 911. If they don't have access to it, it doesn't hurt anything outside of that. You still would call 911 just the same. It's just that if you were to come into Alpharetta, or let's say you register in Alpharetta, but you drive to Florida, and that Florida agency has Smart 911, then that Florida agency, because your cell phone, when you call 911, it bounces off the nearest tower. If they have Smart 911, that agency now knows who you are. They know a listing of your other contacts of who they should call. So if you're traveling, they now have a lead to follow to try to find out where this individual is.
So if you have it on your phone and maybe you're not the one calling in, but somebody calls because they think you might be in harm's way, can you access location just because they've downloaded it on their cell phone?
So if you have a Smart 911 profile, you put in, I'm John Allen, and I live at this address, and I have these pets, these kids, this is my spouse, and these are my medical conditions. So say I'm not able to speak for, maybe I'm choking, maybe I just can't talk. Maybe I'm stuck in smoke and I can't talk because there's a fire at my house. I call Smart 911. I call 911 like I normally would, but I have a profile under Smart 911. My information pops up on the dispatcher's screen without me saying anything.
Okay.
So they're able to see anything that I want to share with the 911 dispatchers. Hopefully that makes them. So
I can see the complete benefit in that. If you're having a medical emergency too, you might not be able to talk, but as long as you can.
So if I can't get out my address, you don't even know where to start as a public safety department. If I'm calling from a cell phone, my closest tower might be the different county over.
Or if there's a fire,
Right.
and you call, they know right away how many kids, how many pets, everything. They know what to do. Great.
Right.
So the more information you put into the Smart 911 app is actually going to help us more. And you can absolutely trust it. You're looking at two police officers saying you can trust it.
Yeah.
It is good because it's allowing us to help you.
Listen, there's so much information on you out there on the
Correct.
internet anyway. People can find out who your kids are. I mean, you just do a people search, you know who lives at what addresses, if you pay $1.99 for the 3-month trial, whatever. I don't see a lot of harm in giving kid and pet information. You're not. Are you giving names of pets?
You can just give names
or type of pet.
Yeah, you don't
dog,
have to. You don't
cat.
have to birth dates. You don't have to give any of that information. Just whatever you feel comfortable giving.
Because they can get that anyway.
Right.
And this is just a means to help you with that information.
And then another service with Smart 911 that we offer in Alpharetta is if there is an emergency, say we have to close down a highway because there's a hazardous material leak, we could actually set up a radius and send out a text alert to the phones of people that are registered with Smart 911.
That's great.
And say, avoid the area because there's a hazardous spill, or there's a tornado coming, or we have a missing child.
Active shooter, anything.
Right. So we can alert the public on something that's going on through this system as well.
So we're talking to folks not just in Atlanta. So we've talked about scams, car break-ins, Smart 911, which I encourage you, if you're not here in Atlanta or Alpharetta, just to check and see if it's offered in your local jurisdiction. And it probably will be, because this is something that's going to be the wave of the future.
Yes, it is spreading.
For police departments. We only have a couple more minutes, but in terms of safety, again, I just want to summarize. Don't ever pay for anything with a prepaid, what's it called, green dot card?
Green dot card.
That's a red flag. Anybody asks you for a green dot card, you get off the phone and you call whoever the agency is that says they need that money.
Right.
Don't
or call
listen.
someone that you trust to
Call
come over
someone
and,
that you trust.
Well, let me talk to my son or my daughter about this first.
Great. Don't be wiring money or sending checks to anybody. Please verify. This whole grandson, granddaughter scheme is out there. My own family has been affected by it. So don't just jump. Take a breath and call people to help you figure out what's true and what's not.
Correct.
We didn't even get into driving safety or residential safety, but do check out the Smart 911 app. And is there a website or something that folks can go on?
Smart911.com.
Okay. And then outside of Smart 911, for some of the recent public safety issues, scams or frauds, or is there a website people can access to check and see what the latest ones are and be informed?
For Alpharetta, they can go to our Facebook page, which is Alpharetta Department of Public Safety. We update all kinds of public safety information through Facebook now.
But I imagine there's a national. Is there like a national Department of Public Safety or Association of Public Safety?
Not really. Okay. Every agency has their own website.
So your city
correct.
public safety, everybody will have a public safety division. So go to your city's public safety division.
But the Smart 911 that he was talking about, going to the smart11.com, they can learn everything about it.
Great. All right, stay with me. We have to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about driving safety and residential safety and more on computer safety. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Thanks for staying with me. I'm still here with John Allen and Jason Munzer of the Alpharetta Department of Public Safety ACE Unit. What is the ACE Unit?
Alpharetta Community of Excellence.
Okay, Alpharetta Community of Excellence. And they are here to talk about public safety. Before the break, we talked about scams, anybody calling and asking for prepaid Green Dot cards or money to be wired because you got grandchildren in some jail in Mexico. Don't listen. Call your family, get somebody else involved before you send money to anybody. And we touched a little bit on some of the recent happenings here in the greater Atlanta area. But we really want to delve more into, in this next half hour, computer safety, residential safety, driving safety. So, folks, where do you want to start? What do you see as a big threat to public safety right now?
I'm going to do driving safety real quick, if that's okay. I tried to hit on it last time I was here last year, and I don't think we got very far into driving safety.
Yeah, it's always the last one on the list, and we never get to it. So
right.
Good, John.
So I'm going to start with driving. As people age, their driving ability goes down. Their vision, their reaction time slows down. So just, if you have a loved one, if you're listening, you have a loved one that is aging or you're aging yourself, make sure that you are a good enough driver to be out there on the roads. You don't want to put yourself in danger. There are plenty of public safety or public transportation methods that you can get. People come and pick you up from your doorstep and take you where you need to go, especially if you're aging and driving is not an option or family's not close by that can take you to and from. So look into your local area and what they have. I know that here in Atlanta, MARTA can come and pick you up from your doorstep if you are unable to get to and from.
And, I've had recent shows on with folks who are experts in Alzheimer's and dementia, and this is one of the toughest issues facing caregivers of somebody with Alzheimer's or dementia, but it's also a huge threat to public safety. It is so hard to take the car keys away from someone who was your hero, who raised you, who was your strength, and now they're deteriorating and you're taking that last bit of independence away from them. I understand that is the most difficult part of one of the most difficult parts of this difficult journey, but we see it a lot where folks are getting behind the wheel and forgetting where they're going and getting confused and getting in accidents, or it's such an important issue, and it can mean the lives of a family, a teenager who's not as adept at driving. So please have these conversations. I don't mean to take away from your talk, John, but I know that this is very, very important and very difficult for families to have. But wouldn't you rather have that on your plate than the guilt of perhaps somebody getting in an accident, getting severely injured or killed because it was a tough conversation to have?
Right. So you know your loved one. You know if you see them, if they have dementia, they're the onset of dementia or Alzheimer's, and they start wandering, it's time to have the talk. Hide the keys, find another way to get them to and from where they need to go. And
not only other public, but for your loved one's sake.
Right.
We hear about that. They get lost in the middle of a snowstorm and they freeze to death because they can't remember where they are or where they need to go.
Right.
So it is just so vitally important. Okay.
And then hopefully you've been to a website before, but the roadwiserx.com. That's ROADWISERX.com. That's important if you take medications, because medications can affect the way that you drive. They have different symptoms that can affect the way that you are able to function. So go on, put in every medication that you take and see how it can affect the way you drive. It's a free website, so go on for your loved one if they don't have access to the internet, or go on yourself and see the way that these medications can affect your driving, because that's
Very
important
good.
to know as well.
Very good.
Medications are being handed out all over the place, and they can affect you. So just make sure you know if it could affect the way that you drive.
And I have one. It's a little bit off the beaten path, but I have a teenager in my house, and you have to go through the typical driver's ed to get your license. But I took it one step further because I heard of this amazing program for teens, and it's accident avoidance workshops here in Atlanta, and it was unbelievable. first of all, I was white knuckled the whole time because a parent has to go with these teens who are learning how to drive. But they have them. Are you all familiar with this program?
I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They have them speed up that car as fast as they can do, floor it, and then slam on the brakes. And then they put something on the ground to show what it feels like at first rain, because that's the most dangerous. Then they have it do it again, floor it, and slam on the brakes at the first rain hitting, and they can see how much longer it takes for that car to stop. And then they do it for after it's rained for a long time. And then they teach them about all the different cars and how everybody has a different turn ratio and everybody has a different size and weight, and every car is different in terms of how long it takes for that car to stop. They get that need for speed out of their system. After 4 hours, I was a wreck. But it is a very safe program. It teaches these kids the importance of understanding your car, understanding speed, understanding how long it takes to brake, understanding spatial awareness, how far behind that car in front of you really need to be. Should someone come up from behind you so you have a plan B? And I think it was $250. But I have to tell you, that was the best program, best $250 I ever spent. And you get a sticker. And they put the parents through the test, too. You have to learn how to park and slam on your brakes and avoid an accident. It's an accident avoidant workshop. And if you're able to avoid an accident going through these cones. So I had to shout out there because I think that teaching teenagers who don't have the experience and think they know everything versus their mother and father, if you have a teenager like mine, this program is so worth the $250, and I hope all teenagers in the future have to go through it because it's just going to make our roadways safer.
Right. Do we have time to talk about road rage real quick?
Oh, yeah. We should.
Are you okay with that?
Absolutely. That's been a hot topic lately all over the country.
We seem to have quite more of an increase this year, and it seems like it goes up every year. Like I said, from Toledo, Ohio, coming to Atlanta, we had maybe 3 cars on the roadway on a 3-lane state highway to, what do we have here for Georgia 400? It's like 5 lanes, 7 lanes over.
I think 75 has 7 on each side or something like that. That's ridiculous craziness.
And it's full.
And we need it.
And it's full. We understand that you're going to get stuck in traffic and you're going to get angry. It happens. We only ask that you not try to throw that frustration out on someone else. We also understand that there are people out there that like to take the roadway and like to pretend as if it's their own personal racetrack. Call us. Let us handle that. That is not your responsibility. If someone cuts you off, we're a phone call away. Give us a call. Let us go ahead and see if we can't track that person down. Now, we're not saying to call for every little minor traffic violation.
You're a glutton.
I'm talking about the scenes where it gets hot and heavy and they purposely try to run someone off the road. We do want to talk to them. I've been involved personally driving down the road and having people come up behind you at a very high rate of speed and start flashing their lights because they want to get around you instead of them themselves going around you. So you gotta know who's bigger at that moment, and you just gotta take a step back, breathe, move over, let the person pass you. It's as simple as can be. They'll leave, they'll go harass someone else, and hopefully that same person or that person then will do the same. Just let that person get through, and hopefully there's one of us standing by waiting to get them.
Yeah,
that's it.
I don't know if it's worse with men. It probably isn't, but it's almost like a testosterone just kind of goes. I don't mean to zero in on men because I know women get involved in it too, but I've been in a car. I mean, we all have, because people are crazy drivers. I don't care what city you're in. People just need to get somewhere and think that they own the road, like you said. But sometimes people just aren't able to let that go.
Right.
And it might not even be the person you're in the car with. They start yelling and screaming and giving the finger and this, that, and the other thing. And my response is always, okay, you're not affecting the person in the car over there. They can't hear you through the window. You're affecting me. This is uncomfortable. And not only that, you don't know who that person is in that car. They could pull out a gun and bam.
Exactly.
It ain't worth it. It
No.
is not worth it. Just settle down, and if you need to take control, get the license plate number and call the police.
So speaking of that, I worked an incident here in Atlanta where a U.S. Marine had gotten shot overseas, had survived, had come home and was celebrating with his wife, his buddy, and his buddy's fiance. I want to say this is somewhere around 2 in the morning. We get a phone call that a man has been shot and in the head. Come to find out, it's the U.S. Marine. They're driving, and 2 other people or someone else is driving, and road rage starts. And the Marine gets out of the car, gets up to the other car, and he gets shot in the head.
Yeah, no.
You know, and it's always sad.
It's awful.
But people have the right to protect themselves, and when you get out of your car, you're taking your life in your own hands at that moment. You know, you have to just, I can't put it enough, I can't engrave this enough to people that you just got to get past it or call us.
Find some other way to control the situation.
Correct.
Because you can't control a crazy person in a car that you don't know anything about. You have no idea what they're capable of.
Correct.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scares me.
You know, and just for a little comical part, we get a lot of people, even our patrol cars. You know, we're Alpharetta, but we're coming downtown Atlanta, and we get people that believe that we're outside of our jurisdiction. So I'll put it out there. If you pass us, we are sworn by the state as well.
Ooh,
If
that's
you
good
feel
to
like you
know.
want to pass a police officer on the highways going 100 miles per hour, you could very well get pulled over. And yes, he is following within the guidelines of the law. Just want to put it out there.
Good idea, because I didn't know that either. Wow. Not that I would do that, but anyway, it's good to know. Good to know. And I'm going to write your names down. No, I'm only kidding. Yeah. No, I'm all for that because that's public safety. And I love police officers and everything, but I do feel like there's speed traps for revenue purposes, and it drives me crazy because sometimes there isn't a soul at risk. And maybe I only counted 1 or 2 seconds at the stop sign instead of 3. But anyway, we won't go there. But for public safety purposes, yes, you do have to, take heed with speed.
Correct.
Absolutely. My assistant came in. She got another speeding ticket.
Oh,
I said,
boy.
I'm going to make you buy a different car. You are going to drive a granny car because you have got to slow down. People slow down. It's not worth it. Okay.
So fire safety real quick?
Yeah,
I don't know
let's
if we
go to
got
fire
into it
safety.
much last time. So basically, make sure you have smoke detectors and make sure you change the batteries at daylight savings and test the batteries. You're supposed to test them every month. I can't say I do it every month.
No.
But if I remember, I'll test them. Just make sure you're changing the batteries at the change of the seasons just to make sure it's going to work. There are some that say they have a 10-year battery life. I'm not sure how those work. But I still
listen,
replace.
I know mine works because every month I test it without knowing when I'm cooking something in the oven after
there
my
you go.
son made a pizza and didn't clean the oven because the cheese fell all down. Once a month I set mine off, so I know
Well,
we're
good. At least you know it's working.
You too could test it that way without getting on a ladder.
Right. Now, if you do have kids, there are studies out that have said that your voice is actually waking up kids more than the beeping to get out. I don't have those. I'm looking into getting some for my house. I do have children. So they're saying that the voice of the parent is making them wake up more than the beep is. And we had a situation.
So what,
with-
you can record your
you can
own
record your voice
Wow,
saying,
that's cool.
hey, say the child's name, there's a fire, get out right now. So you can actually record your voice on a loudspeaker. So if the alarm does go off, it's going to tell the kids get out that way. Instead of the
That's a
beeping.
great idea. I know that. I have
So-
teenage boys. We've been talking about this. I have to go in every morning, yet his alarm's been going off for 20 minutes.
Right. But your voice is waking them up.
Wow,
So
that's
it's something to look
great.
into.
Yeah.
I don't have all the specifics on it, but it's something I'm looking into. We had ours go off a couple months ago. We lost power, and mine are actually tied into the alarm system and the electrical system. So we had no power. They eventually went off. And my kids didn't wake up, either one of them. So that's why I'm really looking into
Wow.
getting one.
Yeah.
Luckily, it woke up my wife and I. We were able to make sure nothing else was going on. But so look into that. Have an escape route. Make sure you know how you're going to get out. If you're on a third story apartment, make sure you have a ladder that can get you down, because you might not be able to get out. If you live in a high rise, make sure you know the way to get out.
We talked about this a little bit before. I remember they have those ladders that roll up, and they can be costly too. But I think $75 for one story, $175 for a two-story ladder. But you need to practice with your kids, and you need to keep it in at least one of your kids' closets up on the second floor, so they know, hey, I grabbed that, I hold it over the. You'd be surprised what even young kids can handle, and those aren't heavy.
Well,
They're
Go to the first floor and practice from the first floor. Mm-hmm. So you're only going 3 feet down.
There you go.
But at least they know that they know how to break out the window if they need to. And they know how to climb down that ladder.
And don't buy the ladder and leave it in the garage.
Right.
It's
not going to do any good. Let the kids know how to use it.
Good.
And so on and so forth. And make sure you know where the meeting spot is for you, your kids, your parents if they're living with you. Just make sure you know where to meet.
And I think we talked about that last time, too. That's what you all do, right? You go to the schools and you teach this and you give them an evacuation. Because my kids have come home. Hey, Mom, we need to go over this evacuation. According to Officer Jason, he said, go home and do this, so I have to do it. It's great what y'all are doing.
I don't mind giving homework to kids, especially when it's something that's going to help them and their family be safe. And
even a meeting point. And then you're not freaking out, where's my kid? Are they still in the house? Running back in the house and then getting burned when your kid was next door at the neighbors.
That's why it's important to know that everyone's out of the house. That's why I want a meeting spot that's out front. So when I show up, because normally police are going to be there before the fire department, we want to know that everybody's out of the house. Or we're going to go in with no gear, no oxygen, or no air. We're going to try and come get you.
Another reason for Smart 911.
Right.
Because they'll be able to tell how many people live in the house.
That's
right down to your pets.
Right.
That's it.
Very
so
good.
just think about fire safety. There are plenty of tips. Just type in fire safety tips online on Google or whatever search engine you like to use, and there's going to be hundreds of sites that come up. So I definitely recommend going and trying to find out more about fire safety. Cooking safety. Don't leave a hot stove. Don't leave the hot stove when you're cooking a pan of whatever and walk away from it. I know life is busy, kids are busy, but we have a lot of kitchen fires that happen because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a lot of people that around Thanksgiving throw a turkey in the oven and then go to the store, and they forget that turkey's burning. And that's how we get a lot of our fires, too.
Wow.
It's mostly around Thanksgiving.
Right.
And teach your teenagers, if they're making pizza in the oven, to line it with tin foil so it doesn't go over.
That's it.
Oh, it's a good way to test the fire alarm.
Yep.
Okay. So residential safety. Was that kind of what you were talking about with fire safety and home safety?
Fire safety, yeah.
Okay.
So with residential, make sure, I said it last time, make sure your doors are locked. Make sure if you're out of town, make sure you let the local department know to do extra patrols if they do offer that service like we do. I get emails almost weekly. Hey, I'm going out of town. Can you set up an extra patrol? I'm going to have these lights on. These cars are supposed to be there. These people
and y'all will
have
do
access.
That.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. In City of Alpharetta, we do that. Many departments around us do that as well.
And this reminds me, too, these whole Craigslist, buying and selling, yard sales, online yard sales are popping up everywhere and very popular. Oftentimes cities have you able to meet and exchange goods at the police department
we
parking
love
lot.
when people come to our parking lot. We have a busy parking lot. We have people coming and going all the time, picking up reports. We have a lot of business that goes on at our police department.
Look, and that's how you're going to know it's a scam. If they refuse to go to the local police department and to meet with an officer, too, because you might think it's a bit shady, if they refuse to do that, you may have just either, one, saved your own life, or two, saved yourself from getting a scam. I mean, there's who in their right mind would want to go meet in an alley at night to make an exchange? And yet we have people that do that.
Well, in the last year, 2 people trying to buy a car killed.
Yes. Sad.
In an exchange for the car. I mean, it's not worth it. You know, and I fall... I'm guilty of this as well. I had a large... What do you call those things for outside? Gazebo that we had purchased for a steal. And it was too big for the spot in my backyard. It was so big, it didn't fit the square spot. So we put it up on this online yard sale place, and we had people wanting to come and get it. But I was thinking, I don't really want someone to come to my house. But that thing is a pain in the neck to pack up in a car and bring somewhere. But in the end, I ended up not selling it because some of these folks on these online yard sales are first of all, mean, competitive, cutthroat, and I got a bad taste in my mouth. But there were one or two, even checking their Facebook page, no friends, one picture, side face, so you don't even know really what they look like, and worrisome.
Yeah.
And that triggered me because one of them had a profile like that. But really, they could put up a fake picture with all kinds of fake friends and dogs and pets and children. You just never know. Don't invite somebody to your house.
You know, and you bring up a good topic there. My wife has done this too. And, you know, listen, I know it's going to happen where you're going to have someone come to the house to pick something up. But what we did is we had several neighbors, you know, just standing by. You can also contact your local agencies to be in the area. You know, if you're going to make an exchange. Now, if you do your own research like you did, and I'm proud of you, you did great.
Thank you.
But you do your own research on them, and you see that their Facebook statuses have, you know, photos and everything, one photo, whatever. Look at the history of the Facebook too. You'll see if the history shows that it's just been put up, and then these photos all appear, you know, at once. See if they've got a history from back in 2010, 11, 12. You know, if it's just 2015, and they suddenly have this huge connection.
That's true.
Something to think about.
But it's scary. You really don't ever know. And I've stopped. I mean, you can get some great deals. It's such a shame. If I really saw something I needed, I would meet at a Cracker Barrel parking lot or the police department parking lot, depending on the cost of the item, I guess. But I wouldn't recommend anybody exchange items in their home. I mean, look at the lady who was selling baby clothes. And the pregnant lady came to buy the baby clothes, and they killed her for the baby in her belly. I mean, don't.
Yeah.
Just don't. It's just not worth it. I might be hyper conservative here, but you don't know who you're getting involved with, just like the road rage person in the car next door.
Absolutely.
Okay. Did we miss anything? We talked fire, residential, driving, theft.
A little bit of residential real quick. If you have someone that is prone to wander, there are services out there. Well, they can have tracking bracelets. They can have GPS bracelets put in their shoes or their clothes so that if they do wander, we can get them faster. So if you need more resources, you can contact me. I know plenty of companies. I can't, say go with this one. But we're looking at getting some for some of our residents that we know wander. It goes for kids, too.
So important. There's some great products out there.
Yes.
And people do wander with these diseases,
right.
And it is a safety issue for your loved one. Right. And peace of mind for you. So right. Definitely. So you could call any police department because you all are going to know
right.
what products are out there and available for recommendations.
Correct.
Yep.
Your police are your friends, and they're here for your safety. So let's honor our policemen on a daily basis, and let's remember all of the good work they do. Thank you, Jason, so much. Thank you, John, so much
for
your continued work with our kids who teach us fire safety, just being out there keeping us safe on the roads, even though it's not always pleasant. I know you're there for the right reasons, and thank you for risking your lives every day to keep us safe.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead, and listen here same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.